What is Man vs. Machine, MVM? It's Team Fortress 2's most unique game mode, in which 6 players play a game of tower defense against a horde of robots. You get 1 life, but unlimited continues, while not being updated for various years like so many other things in Team Fortress 2. But with a call-out post asking for new maps and missions, I think it's about time I do a little guide on how MVM operates. A basics guide, an idiot's guide. You know, like me. So, I'm going to be doing a 4-part series. This video here will cover the basics, and the other 3 will cover the 3 groups of characters. Offense, defensive, and support. All the footage you'll be seeing in this video has been recorded by myself in the 2 Cities tour. Currently the most popular and the only really run tour out of this selection. It took me about 30 minutes to get into one of the other tours, and then I was kicked because I didn't put my stick on the right pixel. Man vs. Machine is a pretty big elitist issue, and as somebody who's probably going to get into it, you're going to have a hard time getting into a lot of matches because you're going to either have a low tour count or you're going to have a no tour count, and a lot of people who have a higher one are going to see that and think, you're stupid, you're bad at the game, and they're just going to leave. You're not stupid, nor are you bad. You're just inexperienced, and this video is going to help you get some of that experience you need. Avoid making the more obvious mistakes that a lot of even experienced players will make. And so, with that, let's start with the very basics of MVM, the basics. Also known as the basics. Here's a basic rundown of how Man vs. Machine operates. You'll have to get through multiple waves of robots, all while trying to protect a bomb hatch. Basically, the robots are playing Capture the Flag. They'll spawn in with a bomb, and I want to escort that bomb to the hatch. If they get to the hatch, they'll jump in after a few seconds, and that's it. Start over from the very beginning of that wave. Oh, and there can be more than one bomb out at a time. The bombs do fade out after a period of not being picked up, but that's just it. The robots can pick up other bombs, and they will always make a beeline for the bomb. Oh, and also unlike CTF, the robots actually get buffs the longer they hold the bomb. They first get a resistance towards damage, then they start regenerating HP, and then they get unlimited critical hits. But they also move at half speed, and the giant robots can't actually get any of those buffs. But then again, some of those giants already have unlimited critical hits, and so do a lot of the regular bots can have that as well. At the start of each wave, you can see above at the top of the screen a little indicator of what robots are coming out. If a robot has a blue highlight around their box, that means they have unlimited critical hits. And if it's red, that means they're a giant or a boss bot. That does sound pretty daunting, even more so when I tell you that all these bots may have a lot more health than their normal human counterparts will have. Thankfully, MVM does give you a way out. Upgrades. When killing any of the main robots, they'll drop behind some money of varying amounts. Pick up the money and it adds to everyone, the entire team's little wallet. During the wave, or during the intermission, you can go to Upgrade Station to get some upgrades for your character, your 3 weapons, and a canteen. But money won't wait forever. Money can fade out if left alone long enough. In the bottom left corner of the HUD, you can see how much money you currently have, as well as an indicator for how much money is currently out. If that indicator is highlighted in green, that means the money is still available. You've gotten everything up to that point. But if it's black, that means you missed something. And really, take it from me, you want to get as much money as possible. Missing $5 or more is not the worst thing in the world, but if you're missing a few hundred, it's best to restart. And you do get a bonus for collecting all the money, 100 extra bucks, or 50 if you collected most of it. Perhaps the hardest thing for a new player to pick up on is what upgrades do they get and when do they get them. There are a lot of good upgrades, and there's also a lot of really bad upgrades. And there's even a few that are kind of, frankly, busted as well. Busted as in bad, not busted broken. There are a few busted broken, too. Once you get set up and get your upgrades, hit the F4 button and get started. Now, in the event of you buying a bad upgrade, or you not having the proper upgrades for that round, you can always choose to refund upgrades anytime during an intermission. Back in my day, you could only do this once. but nowadays you can do it as many times as you like. You need all 6 to start the round, but if one player hits the F4 button and the timer runs out, the match will start, even if you have less than 6 people. And yes, there will be one guy who will mash F4 to the start of each intermission. Once the round begins, the robots will start dropping down. Now, they're completely invincible until they drop down, so don't shoot them when they're on the hill. All you're doing is wasting time and ammo. To complete a round, you need to kill all the main robots. There are support bots that are optional, but you should get rid of them. Now, if you die in Man vs. Machine at any time, you can choose to buy a quick revive. You should never do this because the money you spend for it will typically never be worth it. You should only get a quick revive in the event of your team completely collapsing and you need to get back in the fight immediately, or if a Super Scout broke from the front lines heading to the bomb hatch and you can stop it. Otherwise, you're wasting upwards to 80 credits per revive, and that adds up over time, and if you keep buying quick revives, you're not going to have money for upgrades, and if you don't have upgrades, you're going to be dying more often. If you're dying more often, you're going to probably also buy more quick revives, so you're going to be with less money overall. You really should only buy quick revives if it's the last wave where money is no longer an issue, or you need to get out in the fight immediately. Once you kill the last main robot, the round comes to an immediate end, and you're given a bonus if you collected all or some of the money. Let one robot get to the hatch and blow it up, and it's back to the beginning. Complete every single way to receive a reward if you're playing the Man Up version. Man Up is the for serious mode, while Boot Camp is the practice screw around mode. I recommend that if you want to get heavily into MVM, you start in Boot Camp and then go into Man Up once you get better, and once you give them some money. It costs $1 for each mission. Why are we doing this after so many years? Are we this stupid? What you get for winning each mission is dependent on what tour you're on. Every other tour besides the 2 cities tour gives you a random item, and if you complete every single mission in that tour, you'll receive a bot killer weapon. These are the stock scattergun, rocket launcher, flamethrower, sticky bomb launcher, minigun, wrench, medigun, sniper rifle, and knife. There's 2 qualities to each of the bot killer weapons for that specific tour, a common one and a rare one. These were not seen as good rewards. It's completely random as to what you get, it's not dependent on who you're playing as, and they're just usually the stock weapon with a skull of a robot on it. 2 cities, however, can give away 2 things, way better options. In this case, killstreak sets and Australian weapons. Australian are gold weapons, which are way more impressive than just having some random skull on your gun. While killstreak sets allow you to attach a killstreak to a weapon, specifically a specific weapon. And there are 3 different tiers, starting with the basic one, to having one that gives you a special effect called Specialized, and then 2 special effects for the professional. Okay, you got all that? That's the basics of NVM. The basic structure, anyway. I mean, talk about the bots first before we go into the characters. So, if you don't have a drink or a snack, I recommend you go ahead and get one, because, oh boy, we've just barely begun. All 9 classes are represented as robots at MVM. Well, not engineer at first, he had to be added in his own update. So let's start at the very beginning with Scout, who is the least threatening and is the biggest threat. Despite the scattergun being a very powerful weapon, I don't recall anyone ever dying from a scattergun shot from a scout bot. It's mostly scouts with crit baseball bats that kill people. For the most part, giant scouts are not a big deal. Even the ones with Bonk Atomic Punch effect active at the start aren't that big of a threat, just wait them out a bit. So scouts are not that big of a threat, save for one particular scout, and he is legitimately the biggest threat in MVM besides the bosses and giants and tanks. To put this into perspective of how bad this scout is, I'm going to tell you about Manhattan. The second map in the 2 cities tour, Manhattan is unique because it lacks tank units. It can't spawn them in. But however, it compensates with something a bit different. Other maps in MVM only give you 1 life, but Manhattan actually gives you 2 additional lives on top of it, in the form of control points A and B. Robots will drop down the start and run towards A, trying to capture like a normal control point. If they do succeed, a whistle will blow, resulting in all small robots shutting down, the big robots will move slower and move towards A, and a gate will shut down at the start, preventing robots from spawning in afterwards, after all the robots that already spawned in have dropped down. A second whistle will then blow, and the robots will start spawning out from A and make their way towards B, where they will repeat the process 1 more time, and then if they get B, they'll move on to the bomb hatch, leading to a game over. This rule applies to every single robot except the Super Scout, who ignores this rule and runs straight to the bomb hatch.
Way to go, Slugger!
The base Super Scout is the biggest threat to a Man vs. Machine team. About 80% of your failures will come from a Super Scout breaking through your defensive line and running towards the bomb hatch. It ends the whole thing right then and there. The one saving grace is that Super Scouts don't move around things or jump over stuff. So the best options for them is having a heavy or a sentry gun block them so they just run into them and get stuck until they die. Or until the physics knock them over the heavy or sentry gun, which I've seen happen a few times. It's annoying, but as long as you kill the damn thing, it's all good. Moving on to the soldiers, and don't be too surprised when I say they are the most consistent level threat in MVM. Here's a little fun fact. The soldier is the only class in the entirety of Man vs. Machine that does not use anything else other than their primary. It's all rockets all the time. And sometimes they come out with banners that are already popped and ready to go, so they can do even more damage. And they usually come in groups, so it's not just 1 rocket, it's about 10 rockets. Oh, and there's also a lot of soldier variants that just straight up have infinite crits at the start, so get behind cover and get the hell away from them as soon as possible. This is the reason as to why I recommend that you get explosion resistance on all your characters, so you can survive the soldiers. Now, on the flip side, we have Pyro. And Pyrobots are not really that big of a threat in Man vs. Machine. They are, at least in the Two Cities tour, a minor threat, only really beaten out by the Scouts. Now, flamethrower pyros do have one specific strength. Their flamethrowers will pierce through Medic's shield. And yet, nobody really gets fire resistance in Man vs. Machine outside of getting the achievement or on a certain last wave when there's nothing but pyrobots and tanks. And fire resistance is only half the price of explosion and bullet. But pyros are not so common a threat or a big of a threat in the first place to justify buying it. There are flare pyrobots, but I never recall anyone dying to a flare bot, let alone the entire team. Now, a robot that you should be concerned about are Demo Man, because they come in 2 flavors, the traditional Demo Man and the Demo Knights. And oh boy, the Demo Knights. In Man vs. Machine, all robots are pretty much grounded. They don't jump, and they can't be knocked around by explosions. Pyro can still air blast them, but that's about it. There are only 2 robots in MVM that can actually jump. A Giant Scout, and the Samurai Demos.
This thing is so evil.
Considered to be a normal robot, this thing has 650 points of HP. Nearly 4 times the amount of a normal Demo Man. They jump all the time, they'll shield charge in midair so they can just glide on over to whatever they want to kill, they recharge incredibly quickly, and they do increase damage. Good luck trying to hit them with anything projectile based, and if you're playing as Medic, you might want to start running away from them, because if they target you, you're basically dead. They're also equipped with the splendid screen, so they get very easy crits on top of the increased damage. Ironically, the Giant Demo Knight is actually one of the easier giants to deal with. On the surface level, Heavies seem to be a bit easier than the soldiers in Demo Man, prior to the fact they come out with the gloves of running urgently and die within a few seconds. And then you meet the Shotgun Heavies, and the Fist of Steel Heavies, and then there are the Crit Minigun Heavies. Any of the other melee-focused robot heavies are jokes, but the Fist of Steel Heavies are giant pains in the ass because they will always come out with 900 points of health, and if they have crits, they can just straight up one-shot you. There is also no upgrade to get to resist melee damage, and I'm also fairly certain that melee crits and MVM also ignore crit resistance as well. I have seen scouts die to these things, and that's a big surprise when we talk about scouts in the next video. And, speaking of scout, back in my day, a scout would get pinned to the ceiling by a bunch of crit robo-heavies and would be stuck there until he died of old age and blood loss. So, funny little thing about the robot engineer, he wasn't there in day one. He had to get his own update in order to be added in, as mentioned before. And for the most part, they all do the exact same thing. They come out and want to build stuff. Half the variations will put on a teleporter exit, allowing the other robots to literally skip past a good chunk of the map. And the robot engineers can actually move up if you keep losing ground. Oh, and it's worth mentioning, too, that every single robot in Man's machine has unlimited ammunition to them, so if you don't kill the robot engineers, they'll just rebuild their stuff again and again. Oh, and if you're playing the Empire Escalation mission, Wave 3 has a bunch of engineers that teleport in with level 300 guns ready to go. Get ready for them! Now, the next class is the Medic, and I gotta tell you something really important about the Medic. There's a variant that you should be very careful about dealing with. Medic robots follow a certain rule. If them or their heal target goes below half HP, they will pop Uber if they have it available. And there are Uber medics that start off with full Uber charge upon spawning in. The normal stock Uber medic is a high priority target. This is why Demo Man is so preferred, because he can kill them all in one hit before they pop Uber. Be thankful that there's no giant Uber medic, otherwise this would become a near impossible target. Except for the Demo Man, again. So, if there's an Uber medic that wave, which you can tell if you see the Ubercharge logo on top of the Medics logo, don't shoot the medics unless you can one-shot them. Otherwise, they just simply use the quick fix, and the regular medics can't even use the quick fix Uber. The Giants can, and they're just a big giant stall if they do. Sniper is the first robot I'll talk about in terms of being a support bot. There are other snipers that can appear as part of the main wave, but primarily snipers are support. Throughout the wave, 2 snipers will spawn in at the high ground and take pot shots at your team. Good news, they can't get headshots. And they also typically like to wander in front of sentry guns and get themselves killed. So, not that big of a threat. But if left unchecked, they can just keep nailing you over and over again. If you lose any ground when they're active, you're gonna have a real hard time getting it back. They'll just sit back there and keep nailing shot after shot. Oh, and there's also Huntsman Snipers, and there's a wave in Variant Bod Bash that has nothing but crit Huntsman Snipers. Have fun with that. And coming in at, not second to last, but third to last, are Spies. These guys are exclusively support bots, and they spawn in every single wave, and you're given an announcement beforehand.
Here come the spies!
And yet, everyone seems to fall for them. Spies secretly spawn in somewhere behind your team. They appear on the map directly, and they do not drop down from any vantage point. They come in both invisible and disguised, but once they drop the invisibility, they don't go back into it. You are told when they come in, and you are told when they all go out, so get rid of them. They will usually prioritize the engineer's buildings, but they typically spawn in behind the guy that's furthest away from the rest of the team, or rather furthest away from the spawn point of the robots. In fact, on Rodenberg maps, spy bots can actually appear around the red team spawn area, usually when somebody dies and respawns in the moment the spies come in. And those are the 9 classes. We still got 2 more to talk about. And, well, it's the one that spawns in every single wave, the most often, the incredibly common, and the incredibly dangerous.
Sentry Buster!
Once Sentry Gun does enough damage, and or gets enough kills, the game will spawn a Sentry Buster. It'll drop down and make a beeline with the Sentry Gun it is currently targeting. What I mean by that is, if there's like 2 Sentry Guns out, 2 engineers, it will target the one that did the most damage, and there could be more than 1 Buster summon at a time. This is why we don't run more than 1 engineer at a time. The Buster can't kill anyone directly, but if it touches any buildings, it make them go kablooey. And when the Buster gets in hugging distance of the sentry gun, it revs itself up, and then it goes kaboom. And that kaboom? Well, let me put it to you like this. A heavy can survive a sentry buster going off in his face if he has max overheal bonus, has full explosive resistance, and full crit resistance. He survives with like, say, 50 health. It's basically an environmental kill on legs. I'll talk about it a bit more when we get to the engineer, but trust me, when it comes to the sentry busters, just get out of their way. If they go off in your face, you're dying. And if you try to kill one, there's a good chance you'll end up killing your team by accident. And finally, on to the last robot, and it's the big one, it's the tank! No, not that one. On Pacific Waves, and on any non-Manhattan maps, a tank will spawn in, coming crashing through the gate, and it's gonna make a beeline for the bomb hatch. Tanks stop for nothing and cannot be slowed down by any means, or debuff for that matter. The only way to stop it is to kill it. And good luck with that, tanks come out with a crap ton of HP. The lowest health they can have is 10,000. The highest is 60,000. You know, that's about 200 heavy stacked together. Oh, and speaking of heavy, his miniguns only do 25% of their base damage towards them. No back to be stabbed or head to be shot, you'll just have to keep on it and kill it before it makes its way to the end. I'll go more about how you should fight a tank as each character when we get to their sections. But in the end, tanks are either a distraction at their least, or a big giant bullet sponge at their worst. And that about covers the basics of each robot in Man vs. Machine. There are some unique variants you can find on certain missions and or maps, but I'm not going to go into detail about them. This is basically a how-to guide, how to get started, what you should avoid stuff. And up next, the thing that's going to make your life a lot easier. It's the upgrades. Man vs. Machine would be straight up impossible to win without upgrades. Or it is possible, and that's really damn difficult. Available in the main spawn room of each map, there's going to be an upgrade station. And as long as you get the money for it, you can get whatever you want. Well, barring a few exceptions here and there are in fact some bad upgrades to Man vs. Machine. But that's for later when we talk about the characters individually. There are a total of 5 types of upgrades, from body to primary, secondary to melee, and finally to the canteen. Let's go in order, shall we? And by order, I mean I'm going to talk about body and canteen because the primary, secondary, and melee do vary from character to character and from weapon to weapon. Body upgrades are all passives, giving you resistance towards blast, bullet, fire, even crits. You also modify your movement speed and even jump height, wow! And health regeneration! A lot of new players will neglect this tab. These players die a lot. You can see what comes out in each wave, so you should be buying proper resistances. If there's soldiers and Demo Man, you buy blast resistance. If there's a bunch of heavies, you buy bullet. As mentioned before, fire resistance is not as important, mostly due to pyros not being common enough or big enough a threat. Movement speed is king. Movement speed is always the king in any first-person shooter. Get it. Get it. Jump height is kind of a bit of a meme. It's good on Scout, obviously, it affects both his jumps. And on Manhattan, there's this tower of barrels that a sniper can jump on top of. This gives him a good advantage point, and it makes him slightly immune to spies, as long as he stands away from the ledge. Crit resistance, get it! And that leaves health regen, and you shouldn't get it. It's both a case of being too expensive, and also not really worth it. It costs 1,000 credits to get 10 points of health back every other second. And while that does sound good, you could have bought extra damage. You could have maxed out damage on some characters with that. It does stack with other HP generated effects, like the Medic's Natural or the Cozy Camper. But still, damage is the way to go in MVM. There's also one other body upgrade, but it's only on the Engineer, and I want to dedicate a whole section to that upgrade when we get to the Engineer. When it comes down to body upgrades, it's always important to get what the wave demands, and refund if you don't need that resistance for anything. Oh, as a little reminder, the Huntsman arrows count as bullet damage, in case that helps. Moving on to the canteen, you'll get your first canteen when you complete your first mission, or if you craft one like I did. And familiar to the body upgrades, there's some universal ones, and then one exclusive to the engineer. The engineer gets a lot of toys to play with in MVM, in case you can't tell. The 4 canteen abilities are Crit Boosted, Uber Charge, Refill Clips and Ammo, and Teleport back to spawn. You can hold 3 charges of only 1 ability. That's it, you can't mix and match. Canteen abilities are cheaper to buy than normal upgrades, but you can't refund them after you buy them. You don't need canteens to win any given mission in MVM, but they are really useful to the point where they can actually trivialize a lot of the more harder sections of a certain wave. And once more, with feeling, I'll be going over what canteen works best with what class when we get to those classes specifically. The answer is usually the crit canteen for obvious reasons. And before we move on to the finale and the closing thoughts, I should probably mention there's a few things that do not receive upgrades no matter what. These things are the gunboats, the man treads, the base jumper, Eddie the Devilman's boots, the Wrangler, the danger shield, and the cozy camper. And 3 of those things are actually kind of good for MVM. First things first, I probably should just go over why it took so long to get this video out. I got really sick at one point, as in I thought I was going to die. This is what happens when you eat expired yogurt, people. Always look at the expiration date before eating anything. Also, the usual combination of real life, wanting to focus on finishing my book. There were a lot of things I wanted to get done, and this took the back seat. I was also doing another video too regarding Apex Predator, a movie that I think it's really bad, but I haven't really done much with that project ever since I got sick. I've been doing my own book, I've been doing a book with a friend, I've been doing other stuff for Patreon. Making videos is something new to me, and something that I want to focus on, but I need time. I have a weird habit where if there's anyone else in the house, I start speaking a lot lower, because I don't want them to either complain or start mouthing weird noises, because they will do that. And this video was originally meant to specifically it was meant to cover the entirety of Man vs. Machine. All the aspects and all the characters. And that's clearly not gonna happen because this is already starting to hit around 30 minutes, and I should probably just go ahead and wait and do all the other characters first and then compile together into one big video than just try to make this one big video at once. Doing the I Accuse My Parents review was exciting, and I really did like doing that, but I really should have compressed some stuff down. I feel like it went on too long. There's still a lot of things I need to learn about video editing, both in terms of what I should be showing, how I should do certain edits, and how to handle audio better, obviously. I want to get better because I want to make better videos. I like making videos. It's actually kind of fun to me, but I need time, room, and I need more experience. I want to talk about my favorite video games. I want to make fun of really bad movies. One thing I should do is I should get all the voice recordings done and then make the video, because doing voice work is a lot easier when I don't have anyone around, and I can just simply put that in the machine and then proceed to do all the edits I need to do. I also need to learn how to actually properly speak and maybe actually write a script for once. That would probably help. But other than that, I am definitely going to do all the classes. With offense first, defense, and then support. And then once I get those done, I'll put them together into one big video, a compilation of sorts, and do more editing, because I'll need to edit out a few sections where I made it clear this is separate parts. Like, this is not going to be in the full video. So, I hope you can stick around and maybe learn something that you didn't know about Man vs. Machine. And hopefully I don't attract all the buzzards. So, thank you all for watching. Hopefully see you next time if I can get around to doing that. Before I go, just remember, if you lick somebody's coat button, you will have to marry them in June. Adios, y'all.